Hi.
Hello, it's another of our daily reflections today.
Yep.
From the YouVersion Bible app.
Verse of the day.
Yep. And today an interesting one, John chapter 3 verse 36. Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life, but whoever rejects the Son will not see life, for God's wrath remains on them. So this is this big discussion that Jesus has with Nicodemus at night time. So a Pharisee, and John 3:16, very well known verse, is part of that passage, and then it gets to the end of the chapter and Jesus says this. And explaining important things to Nicodemus, obviously.
When taken out of context, it can sound really quite, God's wrath being on them, but in the context of, for God so loved the world that he sent his only Son to die, it's talking about what happens when you don't receive God's love, when you reject the love that God has there presented for you. And, then you step outside of relationship with God, and that will have implications, profound implications in your life.
So he talks about life. He talks about eternal life, and for those whoever believes in the Son, but those who reject the Son will not see life. So it's a lot. How do you describe life? Is it life here on earth? Is it life?
Well, eternal life is an interesting one because it's a combination of two Greek words, like it is for us, and how to actually interpret it has been a bit of discussion over the years. It's certainly both qualitative and quantitative. What I mean by that, it's both a length of time, which we tend to think of eternal as a long period of time, but eternal is also about the quality of life, how good it is as well. And so it's not just talking about life going on forever. It's talking about the quality of life you have now.
Living life to the full.
Is another way of talking about it. That's what I think. And I think what Jesus is saying here, if you don't acknowledge Jesus and his way of living in the world, which is about loving your neighbours, loving your enemies, loving the strangers, being there and giving yourself, being a servant to others, rather than being the one who lords it over everyone. If you go very selfish into the world, then you won't know the benefits of following Jesus and following his way. And we've seen it, haven't we? I've seen plenty of people who've been hurt, who struggle with forgiveness, and bitterness ultimately consumes them. And so they don't know a good quality of life. Their quality of life is something quite less than what they would like, and quite less than what they can have.
But even believers in Jesus have trouble in forgiving people. So does that mean that they miss out on that in spite of this?
They are missing out of some of the qualities of life that Jesus has for them. Absolutely, they are missing out. And I think that the Bible is very clear that we can choose, that Paul would say, the attributes of the flesh. We can choose the fruits of the Spirit or the attributes of the flesh, and that will reap rewards in our lives here and now.
It was interesting. There was a news report from Victoria last week about a young man who had been murdered in Victoria, and his parents came out straight away and said they forgive whoever this was, and while it was very difficult to do that, this was their stance, that they were forgiving the perpetrator of the crime. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because they're actually not letting this guy off the hook at all. They're still saying he needs to go through the justice system, but for their own peace of mind and comfort, sense of self, sense of understanding who they are before God. I would believe that they are now in a place of saying, I'm not going to be angry about this.
And so their well-being benefits, but also that forgiveness will flow onto that person in some shape or form. And I think this is the Jesus way. Jesus' way of being in the world is that we want to go to violence when we're wronged, or we get frustrated and we do other things. And Jesus' way of being in the world is one of love and of patience and forbearance. And if we follow Jesus in that way, then we will reap the rewards of what that means.
And that's talking about inner peace. That's talking about
peace between
wholeness.
people, but also right relationships with people.
And also can mean physically too, that you actually don't reap the reward of ill health sometimes because you're not holding these grudges and these difficult things. It has repercussions that way.
Research has shown it has repercussions physically. And so therefore, I'm not saying that there isn't longevity into following Jesus in life. You know, that's part of the promise, but it's also about the quality of life that we enjoy here and now. And so I just challenge you, is there things in your life that's robbing you of knowing eternal life or part of eternal life here and now?
Life in all its fullness, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Catch you next time.
Bye.